let's discuss deconstruction. So artistically speaking, deconstruction is when an artist stops building or creating something new or exploring new ideas and themes, and their philosophy becomes more about tearing apart or breaking down the, things that they've already built, or the rules and standards that they've already created for themselves. Politically, it's like identifying issues in the current political system and then like breaking down those issues, right? And usually with the hopes of creating something new. I think that the band right now is at that point. I think they're at the point of deconstruction. This album in particular, it doesn't seem to bring about anything new to me. There's no new ideas being created. This album seems to be more of a retrospective of the problems, or a retrospective or an examination at least of the problems that the band currently has, specifically Vessel, right? They've built this great thing. They have a wonderful fan base that is very passionate about them. But now I've even seen some fans say that this is like their weakest album. And I think that if all they can do at this point is take a look at the situations that they're in now and just explain those or talk about those in their personal lives, instead of building the lore or building the world or building new topics, right? Then the band's going to be in trouble. I've explained this many times. Deconstruction only lasts for so long, right? It's a short-term benefit. It works wonders the first time, right? Like right now, fans are absolutely loving these songs. Fans love that they get to hear from Vessel about his personal life, right? And that's how deconstruction works, right? He's no longer portraying Vessel. He's actually portraying like the man behind the mask and giving them a peek behind that, and exposing like how he really feels about things. It's wonderful the first time, and it is obviously working to their success immensely. I am not disputing that they are connecting with their fans and they have a wonderful fan base and they're immensely successful, right? What am saying though is that deconstruction has diminishing returns. So this album, they might be talking about the struggles of success and fame. If they do this on the next album and continue to talk about the struggles of success and fame, or, continue to just break down, or let's just say they no longer use their masks on the next album, people will be like, oh, that's great. We get to see the real them. They were losing. They weren't interested in the lore anymore anyway, right? Like that's the type of thing where over time that will, if you just keep deconstructing the thing that you built, eventually you're left with nothing, right? I think that if you're not continuing to build on your topics, you develop your lore, develop themes in your music, find new things to sing about that aren't related to just you and your personal problems, you're going to have problems. Fairweather fans are real, and usually, when that happens, right? When the switch flips and it's no longer interesting to hear Vessel talk about his personal problems, that's when the Fairweather fans leave. Lifelong fans are typically people who actually want to remain engaged in the music and experience something new. And like I say this as a lifelong Avenged Sevenfold fan, if they didn't continue to push their sound forward and try new things, I probably wouldn't be as interested in the band, right? But they're my favorite band because they always do that. They're always trying to find something new. Like you look at the stage, I would have never predicted that Avenged Sevenfold would write an album about robots and space and technology back in like 2008 when they were writing a bunch of songs about like demons and devils and shit, right? Like, but they continue to push and grow. And even on their latest album, Life is But a Dream, that album is all based on like philosophy and existentialism. And they do a great job of portraying like the mental anguish that can come with, increased philosophical knowledge and the hopelessness that you might feel when you're having like an existential collapse, right? And so that's a whole separate thing that really has nothing to do with the band as individuals, right? I don't think that Avenged Sevenfold are so depressed that they're willing to kill themselves, but they can write an album about a man who is so depressed that he does kill himself at the end of the album, which is what Life is But a Dream is, right? And so that's what I mean. They're not talking about their personal problems. They're talking about, I think that's a part of maturing, right? Is when you start to write about like the world and your examination of it and put that through an artistic lens. And that's what it means. Like, you just keep moving forward and pushing for newer, more, newer themes and newer ideas. Deconstruction is the opposite. It's where you've built this really cool thing, right? Like, Sleep Token have built this immense lore and fan base, but if they stop building that and developing it in order to just talk about their personal struggles, at some point, one of two things has to happen, right? Like, they can't keep talking about their personal lives. They can't keep talking about their personal struggles, or else it just turns into, then it actually does become whiny, and people will get tired of that real quick. But they either keep doing that, and I do think that that's something that people just lose interest in. I don't want to listen to 4 albums from Sleep Token where they talk about how miserable their lives are because of their successes, right? But then, on the other hand, they could turn this ship around. They have the lore, they have the setting in the world. They can continue to develop that endlessly, really. They just have to be creative about it and how they go and how they move forward. But that's why I'm kind of disappointed by this album, and why I harp so much on the lore, because here they are at, I don't want to call it the peak of their fame, but they're definitely at a massive high point in their career, and they're already starting the process of deconstruction. So maybe just so it's clear, like, when I talk about why this is a little bit of an issue, right? And why it's going to be an issue for them. This whole song in and of itself, while it is a good song and I've complimented it a lot, the song is a contradiction, right? If they just cared about the music and didn't care about their personal lives, right, they wouldn't write about their personal lives. They would continue to develop the lore, or not. It doesn't even have to be lore, right? It could just be a new song, a new topic, or a new theme for the album. There's so much that a band like this can do. And in this case, they purposefully chose not to do it and lampshade them talking about their personal lives, right? So like, lampshading, for, if you don't, that's when you point out something that's obviously there. Like when a story points out its own contradiction, right? It's like, yeah, I know that's stupid, but that's what we're doing. And it's like, well, no, hold on. Why would you do that thing if it's stupid? It's like, yeah, I know that we're talking about our personal lives, so you might not believe me, but it's still how I feel. It's like, okay, just because I almost see it as like a Freudian slip, right? Because in writing this song, they have made me care way more about their personal lives and, their fame and everything other than the music than anything else that they could have written about. If they had written a song about, devils and demons and stuff or whatever, I would be focused on the song and the music and the lyrical themes. But in this case, I am focused on their personal lives and their career as a band, so that's what I mean. It's like this little slip of like, I think they actually do want people talking about their personal lives. I think they do want, people talking about their fame. I don't think that they really are that interested in keeping people out of their lives. I think, they might not even realize it, but I think there's a part of them that likes being, likes getting this attention. And so the mask is not actually hiding people from their personal lives. It's actually inviting people to dig deeper into their personal lives. And then they point it out. And you're supposed to kind of just go along with it, but I don't, right? It's like, hey, we just want you to appreciate our music. We don't care about that. But here's an album about our personal lives and how you wish you'd stop digging into them and just care about our music. It's like, well, you sacrificed the music. You could have written about any other song topic, and you decided to sacrifice that in order to make an album about your personal lives. You see what I mean? It's a contradiction. There's an element of cognitive dissonance that's got to be involved there in order to do that, in order to write a song about your personal life while claiming that you don't want to write about your personal life, right? So I think that it's again, Freudian slip is the way to put it. I think that they actually are I think that they might not even realize it, but I think that the next logical step for this band is for them to just cast off the masks and the, all of that crap entirely and just be Sleep Token unmasked. The problem with that is that then they will say that the fans made them do it, and then the fans will blame the toxic fans, when in reality, nobody made them do it. They could have just kept on with the masks, right? We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but only time will tell. Like, I'm just speculating, right? But I just think that that's how people like that think, right? Like if you think that if you're willing to sacrifice your artistic integrity to accommodate, just the few toxic fans that expose your personal life, those fans are going to push even deeper into your personal life because they know that it gets to you, and you're just going to keep compromising that integrity. And so I hope they don't. I hope that they maintain the mystique. I think it's really cool, but they're already compromising it. And that is the problem with deconstruction, right? Is that ultimately deconstruction is the loss of artistic integrity in favor of, breaking down what you've built. But it's way harder to build something like what Sleep Token has built than it is to destroy it and deconstruct it and break it down to its basest, building blocks, right? So eventually, if they keep doing this, if that does happen, which I hope to God it doesn't, the band would end up just being a regular ass band again. So hope that doesn't happen. And I'm not saying that that's what they would do, but I'm saying that they're already kind of doing it by writing songs like this. Even if it is a great song, right? It is a really good song, but they're already sort of they're feeding that, they're feeding those fans that want to break the illusion and want to, intrude onto the band's personal life. And I don't think they should be doing that. So I hope that makes sense. I think that it's very finicky talking about this band right now because the fans are really, really attached to it. And and I even like this song. That's the irony, is like, I actually really love this song for a lot of reasons. If you're listening to the clip, please go listen to the full breakdown because I'm very complimentary of this song. But I think that there's got to be a point where you recognize like, they've sacrificed something by making this song. They're sacrificing their mystique, and they just need to be very careful with that. Even if it's something that the fans want, you got to be, kind of like caramel, right? You don't want too much of it. Don't eat too much of it. It's bad for you. So, okay. That's my spiel on deconstruction. With all of that said, I do think that these lyrics, are pretty solid. I don't have a whole lot of mega criticisms for them that I haven't already stated. So yeah, let's get into the second chorus.